We're still talking to the Katipunan Demokratikong Pilipino with Butch Valdez, who is one of the senatorials of that party. How long has KDP been in existence? And
Well, as a party, it's been in existence since 2003.
Okay.
But it has been rather dormant, no? Because the reason I put it up with some people at the time was because we had the radio program called Save the Nation that
Yes,
also
yes,
started it. No?
yes.
And the program is actually ang ating Katipunan. No? And in anticipation that there might be a need for something like this, we put it up. But we didn't go into it. We didn't pursue it because we needed to educate more people at the time.
when you talk about Save the Nation, what is the current condition of the country? Has it worsened since the time you launched the movement, or what is the status?
I would like to think that before it was facing the wrong direction. At least now we're facing the right direction.
Okay.
And I admire, of course, the courage and the love of country of the president. But I have my reservations about the members of his cabinet. No, I don't think they, not all of them, but I don't think some of them, I don't think they have the same love of country as the president has. No? And maybe they have a different idea as to where the country should be going.
Why did you say the country is under siege?
Well, it's under siege with those enemies of the state.
The
that's
five enemies
for
of the
one,
state.
okay? And it's also under siege with people that insist on promoting a kind of economic program that in reality is against what the president wants. No? For example, he wants a agro-industrial development, and so he wants infrastructure.
Of course.
Infrastructure says, but infrastructure means let it only to create jobs,
Yes.
right? So the infrastructure we go into are bridges, roads,
Yes, yes.
and some airports and this and
The
that.
build, yeah.
Right, so-called build.
You're on board with that?
Of course.
Okay.
No. But that's not just the only infrastructure that's needed. No. There are some basic infrastructure that we have to go into. I'm talking about energy.
Energy.
None of those projects on mass transit systems are going to really be working without sufficient cheap and reliable clean energy.
Okay.
And we're not going into that. It is surprising for me when I see the whole economic team pushing the build, and the most basic infrastructure,
Which is energy.
is something that is almost purposely ignored when we're talking to China.
Okay.
No? That is, and when you say energy, it's that one, plus what you call water management projects. No?
Okay.
Water management projects are dams. Dams that wherein you regulate the flow of water so to make sure that the artificial lakes you create will irrigate many more farms. No? And this is where we should be going. No? And as you know, dams are also power generators,
Yes,
right?
yes.
We don't have much of that. No? And yet, we're talking about building roads and bridges and so on and so forth.
Should we nationalize
Yes.
the
Yes.
electric generation?
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned that because the KDP actually, the KDP has three main issues, aside from our platform, our economic and foreign policy and education problem.
We'll go into that later. Yeah.
We want to take up three main issues in the whole campaign. Number one is the electoral fraud and the constitutionality of Smartmatic intervening itself into the election process to choose our leaders. This is a foreign company and so on.
But before that, Butch, you believe in nationalizing the electrical power
Yes.
generator? Okay.
Not just the.
What else? Do you think we should have our own oil company? The government should have its own oil company?
Of course, we always had our own oil company.
Do you think we should have our own telco company, which is all government?
Yes.
As a
but
fourth or as a fifth challenger?
something like that. No?
Okay.
You must always have a balance. No?
Yes, yes.
You want to allow private sector to participate.
Yes.
No?
But you have to be there to also discipline them.
That's right. That's
To-
right.
to regulate them, yeah.
somehow to regulate.
Yes,
no?
yes.
Because still we want fair market. No?
Yes.
But not totally free market. No?
Okay.
There is a big difference because free market can be taken over. Your country can be taken over
Yes,
by
of course.
oligarchs. Right?
Yes. You talked about agro-industrial. You touched on a very important point. We're always talking agricultural.
Yeah.
We don't hear
Yeah.
the industrialization process of the Philippines.
Right. You know, when you say agriculture, we must move towards increasing the production of food, double, triple, or even quadruple. No? But you can't do that unless you've got the basic infrastructure. That agriculture development must be science-driven, which means all of the technologies available to us to increase the yield must be there. But if we go around the world, we will know that that thing's not going to happen unless you have the basic infrastructure
Yes.
of energy and water. And we don't have that.
Steel company,
Yes,
Okay.
we must move. This is where,
chemical company.
yeah, of course, and smelting plants and
Yes.
so on and so forth.
Why aren't we doing it? But
I'm asking you this, and this is how, let me, if we are going to nationalize,
Yes.
that means we're going to pull out private sector from
yes,
the public utilities,
yes,
right?
yes,
Where do they go?
yes.
If
Where should they go?
they should go to the industries that we want to develop.
Okay.
You mentioned steel industry.
Yes.
You mentioned chemical industries.
Yes.
Smelting plants, fertilizer, and
Yes,
so on and
yes.
so forth. That's where we should push private sector.
Okay.
With all the incentives that we can give, no? Even approximating the amount of money, that it's going to be hard, but it's approximating the amount of money they're making in the public utilities. Public utilities must benefit the public, not the private sector.
But they're making. But Butch, I agree with you. But the problem is, they're making a killing in in the utility sector.
Yes,
All
I
these others are legitimate businesses.
Yes,
which,
yes. They call them legitimate because there's a law that protects them. For
Yeah,
example, PIRA.
Yeah.
It's a law that protects them. And a lot of lobby money is getting into
Of
the
course.
Congress no?
Yes.
to keep that there, right?
To keep it among themselves.
That's why there is a need for President Duterte. Our appeal to President Duterte, focus only first on electricity, is for him to declare a state of emergency on the power sector, suspend the EPIRA law, and grant 50% discount across the board on electricity bills. Okay. I estimate that the whole oligarchy that is in control of the power sector, that's about 7 or 8 companies, no? Are raking in about 3 trillion pesos every year. No? You divide that by 7 or 8, you can see how much money. It's like a milking cow, right? And even if you give 50% discount, no, for when the president takes over, because takes over,
Yeah,
then
yes.
he grants it. What happens there is that the companies will still be making a lot of money, right? But at least he would have given back to the people the capacity to be able to address the inflation problem and the high prices
Yes.
that is now hitting us.
There are some economists, the naysayers, who said, your competitive advantage, why do you need to reinvent the wheel? There are other countries that are producing all these other products at a cheaper cost. So why do you need to industrialize? Why do you need to...
Well, you see, they're looking at it from the standpoint of pesos. No? What is cheaper? Where do you make more money? No? They're not looking at it from the standpoint of our people. It's the quality of life of our people that are suffering while you're making your so-called arithmetic on pesos.
They're saying, you have cheaper commodities, bringing it from other countries. Why do you need to build the industry? Why do you... That's what they're saying.
Yes,
You've heard that, I'm sure. You've
yes,
heard that
yes, of
argument.
course, of
How do you counter-argue these people?
Well, the proof of the pudding is in the eating, you see. We've got, 40 years of all of this talk. What has happened to the quality of life of our people? It has deteriorated. We have actually deteriorated. You know, if you're earning 20,000 pesos a month now, that is equivalent to about, in terms of purchasing power, to less than 2,000 pesos in 1985. You see? Only about 20 years ago, the purchasing power of what you earn, 20,000, can buy the same amount of goods of less than 2,000 pesos in 1985. And yet, the minimum wage in 1985 at the time, before Cory took over, was already 5,000 pesos a month. You know? So this is where we are, you know? Listening to these econoquacks. You know? These econoquacks who continue to tell you, no, it's cheaper to do this.
Yeah, it's cheaper for our people to import it,
So
and then
what happens?
Our local products won't be able to compete because they're more expensive. How do you go about that?
No, yeah, you see, you're gonna have to really hunker down, no, and not look at that. We can actually make cheaper rice. No, we don't have to import it. The reason it's not cheaper is because all the other things are not government produced. We're importing fertilizer. We're importing everything else. So whatever.
So that's why the cost. Yeah.
Of course, no, of course. Even our irrigation, you need oil or gasoline or diesel to run the pumps to push the water to the farms, to the rice farms.
How about nationalizing our
Of course.
waterworks?
Yes, this is infrastructure.
These
This
are the
is
traditional
basic.
functions of government.
It has to be, and this is a responsibility of government. I'm sad that we had abdicated that starting Ramos's time, and everything else was so-called privatized.
Because they're also part owners of these privatized businesses?
probably.
Or they got commissions?
Oh, probably. No. If
Okay.
you go, for example, if you go into government guarantee contracts for power, no? And President Ramos went into something like $8.5 billion of privatization of power, right? What happens there? You're given a guaranteed contract. No? What do? You go to the financing institutions abroad and say,
I have
I
this.
have a guarantee.
Give me some money.
Give us some money, and you don't even have to put up the capital.
Yeah.
The guy and puts up the interest. Who pays for it? We.
Yes.
That's why we're paying the most expensive electricity rates in the world. And I keep on saying in the world, not in Asia,
The world.
in the world. We're paying 23 US cents per kilowatt hour. The US is paying 12 US cents per kilowatt hour. The only country that is about as high as us is Italy, only because of legislation. Can you imagine? We're paying double that of the ordinary citizen in America, when that citizen earns more than 20 times more our ordinary citizen here. 20 times higher, wherein their electricity rates covers less than 5% of their income. With us, it's 25% of our income. So there's something onerous and immoral about this. And it started all with President Ramos. We have to reverse this. We have to fix up the quality of life of our people. If we don't do that, I don't know where we're going to be in the next, not even one generation, maybe in the next 10 years.
Next to the nationalist Democrats, the not them, I think we need to listen to nationalist voices, which are not exactly left-leaning, no?
That's right.
And
Yeah.
that's you.
Well, I would like to think so, but we're just talking about the country, right?
Yes.
And the quality of life of our people.
Yes.
It has to be reversed. No? And I personally think that if the president listens to our move towards electricity, no, this is going to precisely create a wedge and make private sector rethink their position.
Okay, on that note, we're going to pause for a few reminders.